We must never forget that over 12 million Africans were taken to the Caribbean, taken to Europe and America. We must never forget that. We must never forget that the Roman Catholic Church was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it. We must never forget that the Church of England was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it using the Bible.
Where he hints at a warning many people are still not paying attention to. He raises a point so unsettling that it might change how you see global power forever. Let's watch the rest of the video.
And a choice is made. That is the Bible that I read. And I don't think it has changed, even if you have the American or the NIV or the King James. That one has never changed. So there is no equivocation in the Bible. It's about choice. The other Bible that I read is to be found in Joshua 24, and you'll be familiar with it. The last meeting between Joshua and the elders of Israel before he passes on at Shechem says, remember, before we crossed, before I called Abraham and Nahor from his father Terah, they worshipped other gods. And he narrates what he did to them and how he came into the land of the Amorites. And he tells them, choose you now whether you want to worship the gods that your fathers worshipped before they crossed the Jordan, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. As for me and my house, I shall serve the Lord. No equivocation, clarity, choices being made. I read that. The Bible that I read also tells me in Matthew 24:24 that in the last day there'll be many Christs. They'll come, and they are coming now, many of them. They shall work wonders, and that they would even lead the very elect, but for divine intervention. That Bible I read, and I suspect you also read the same Bible. The Bible that I read in Paul's second letter to Timothy at 3 also tells me that in the last day there shall be a form of Christianity where people will be lovers of themselves, and they would cheat everybody just like Jannes and Jambres did to Moses in the desert. I read that Bible. I also read another Bible verse in the Bible, Romans 1:30, that people shall be lovers of themselves, and they will have committed all sins, and they manufacture new sins like LGBTQ. So nowadays I go to church and pastors are equivocating. My own church, I saw in England, the clergy coming complete with a dog's collar, apologizing for people who are engaged in LGBTQ. Saying that God loves them. Yes, he does, but God does not love sin. And the last time I checked, and the Bible has not been revised, one of the reasons why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed was because they engaged in those. We must never forget that over 12 million Africans were taken to the Caribbean, taken to Europe and America. We must never forget that. We must never forget that in Southern Africa, the apartheid regime was underwritten through verses from the Bible by the Dutch Reformed Church. We must never forget that. Upon a theology based in the Bible. Fact. We must never forget that the Roman Catholic Church was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it. We must never forget that the Church of England was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it using the Bible. Theology. Slaves, obey your masters like you obey Christ in the Bible. So when we talk about theology and African problems, we must remember that the effects of slavery are alive and with us today. When slavery was gone, it is Christians again, William Wilberforce. And I can, through history, see him standing in the House of Commons saying that slavery should be abolished, but that Africans should not be freed even when slavery is abolished and slave trade. After slavery, colonization came. And as I speak to you, Europeans sat in Berlin in 1884 and 1885 and divided Africa into spheres of influence. Africa was a hunting ground, divided amongst the British, the Italians, the Dutch, the French, the Belgians, the Germans. And today we are in this assembly. I'm using English language which was imposed on us. And those of you who come from English-speaking countries, you referred to as Anglophone. Those of you who come from French-speaking countries, you are referred to as Francophone. And those from Portuguese are referred to as Lusophone. Soon there'll be Sinophone. We don't speak Yoruba. I'm not speaking Yoruba. I'm not speaking Kiswahili. There is no Kiswahili interpreter here. There are only French and Portuguese and English. Part of the African problem. We are confused. When my friend resisted their being called a perfect Frenchman, I could understand his anger because the colonial project was a dehumanizing and humiliating process. And religion and theology were at the heart of it. That is why when the European colonizer, we used to be taught in school that the flag followed the cross. That is why when theology came, we were told that in order to be a Christian, you must be John or James or Joel. You cannot be Taiwo, no. That is not a Christian name. Christian name must be John, Joseph. Who said it? Whose theology is it? Who said that in order to be a Christian, you must be John? Who said it? That is jaundiced theology. That is racist theology. Because when you want to change a person, you give him your name. This is the reality. This is part of the problem. The Democratic Republic of Congo will never know peace because of religion, Roman Catholicism, and colonization. These are the problems bedeviling Africa. And we never say it. King Leopold of the Belgians caused 13 million Congolese to be killed. Twice the number of the Jews that were killed by Adolf Hitler at Holocaust. But we have forgotten. We Africans have a short memory. But the Jews will never allow you to forget. Never, ever. But we Africans have forgotten. Part of the African problem is short memory. Amnesia is part of our problem. And that is why we keep on repeating the same mistakes time and over. Colonization is part of the problem that affects Africa. Because after colonization ended, we have another thing called Neocolonization. And it is alive and well. That thing called Neocolonization is alive and well. And if you doubted whether he's alive and well, I want you to see what is happening in Guinea-Conakry. I want you to see what is happening in Niger. I want you to see what is happening in Burkina Faso. I want you to see what is happening in Chad. And I want you to see the arrogance of the French president when he says, my ambassador shall not leave, my bases shall not be removed. Africa's problem is also neocolonization. From slavery to colonization to neocolonization, which is an ongoing project. Today, I tell Africans because of neocolonization, I'll come to what I think theology can do. Today in Africa, here in Nairobi, Kenya, if you want to buy something from a supermarket, you go to Carrefour, which is French. You want to buy fuel, you go to Total Energies or Rubies, which is French. You want to have your pizza, which is made by Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is American. You have it carried by Glovo, which is Spanish. If you want to have security, you have it by G4S, which is British. If you want your home guarded, is guarded by KK, which is Gardewald from Quebec. If you want to have chicken, it's Kentucky Fried Chicken. If you want your airports managed, is Swissport from Switzerland. That is the state of Africa. Consuming what we do not produce and producing what we do not consume. And when you are in that state, you are a slave. When you are in that state, you are dehumanized. When you are in that state, you are not behaving as if you are made in the image of God. If you run across Africa, there is no shortage of organizations which are designed to debilitate Africans through NGOs, USAID. Right now, they are busy dropping food in Sudan and Somalia. UK Aid, Danida, GIZ. There is no shortage of them, and Kwame was right again. The colonialist comes under different guises, but they kill your spirit to survive. So what can you do amidst all these things? What can religion do? What can theological schools do? Can they do anything that is useful? Can they change people's lives? Can they empower people? The Bible can be disempowering, and the Bible can also be empowering. That all these things are inspired. And if you read Rome and the book of Romans historically, you'll see that there are things that are Paul's own opinion. Then he said, but why are you saying this? I told him, because I'm a Christian of Berea. The Christian of Berea questions. And Paul is him who says in Acts of the Apostle that why he liked the Bereans. When the gospel has been preached to them, they went home and asked, we heard you saying all these things. We are fact-checking you. We are fact-checking you. Because we now have a theology in Africa particularly and in the world where preachers of the gospel are busy writing little explanatory books about the Bible, and their congregation reads those books rather than the Bible. The joy of many preachers today is that I've written 20 books. Read my books, and they don't say buy my books. They say donate. Deception. Just be right. Say buy my books. And if you ask people whether they have read the Bible, many have not. I did a challenge. I'll not do it here because some of you will fail. I told in a congregation, I want you to recite to me the Lord's Prayer without referring to any book. Out of 10, only 2. Then I said, I want you to tell me the 10 commandments in the order in which they were given. Only 2. But say what the pastor has said in his book about the last days, they can memorize everything. In the last days, Matthew 24:24, there shall be many Christs, and they shall mislead many, even the very elect. So the question is, with all these problems facing Africa, education, health, bad governance, and all these things. In Africa, we have some of the lowest quality politicians. African countries say that they are democratic, they are kakistocratic. And kakistocracy is a government of the very worst. You are led by your very worst. That is kakistocracy. If you combine that with kleptocracy, which is a government of thieves, then you can see why Africa continued to punch below her weight. In all areas, we continue to do so. So that many Africans have now surrendered. What they are remaining with is prayer and fasting. Africans pray for what they can work for. That is not the divine instruction. Paul was still making tents. We must continue working. Faith and works. We have converted God into an operator of a lottery and a casino. Where upon tithing, then you will get more. You say tithe and you will get more. That is why you have all these dangerous things that are now emerging even in Christianity, extremism. And African theology has always been there in an attempt to interpret religion and Christianity in a manner in which is in conformity with African realities. If we don't decolonize theology, then we will continue to believe that the theology handed down to us is what is going to solve our problems. And permit me to be a little bit unsettling. And we must say this whether people are angry or not. Because if we want to change Africa, we must not fear to speak the truth as we know it. Because if you fall for everything, there is a Kiswahili saying, mwacha mila ni mtumwa. He who abandons his culture and traditions is a slave.
Are they already unfolding, or is there still time for change? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this breakdown opened your eyes, remember to like the video and subscribe for more deep, thought-provoking content. Watch this video next. I am sure you will love it.